As a consumer, if you go into a shopping mall, you get sanitized at the entrance to each shop, and everyone is wearing a mask. And it is a requirement by most businesses. But let's discuss the role of the retail sector in the battle against COVID-19. For this, I'm now joined by Matlou Setati, Food Safety Executive at the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa. Well, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's just look at the difficult times that shops, are facing in general. Ultimately, are most shops protecting themselves and their customers? I mean, what's been the reality on the ground to date?
Good afternoon, Lizel, and to the viewers at home. As you are aware, the retail sector, in as much as they have been regarded essential from the onset, and we must commend the supply chain, not only retailers. So from your farmers, your manufacturers, and your retailers, they have been pulling together in terms of ensuring that the employees and the consumers are protected. So what we have seen is that in terms of their facilities, they invested in terms of protection screens for employees and also to protect the consumers as they shop. And we have seen an increased online shopping platforms, and also where a positive employee gets tested in a facility, we work closely with the Department of Health in alignment with their protocols to ensure that further transmission of the virus is avoided.
I mean, this must all be costing a lot of money. I would imagine many shops are going to battle to stay open during this time. Paint that picture for us.
Well, I must say we need to go back to how we used to operate as the food or the manufacturing sector, including retailers. We are a highly legislated sector. So when COVID came, we just had to add on in terms of the requirements, in terms of health practices that we normally adhere to. So you may have seen, normally you'd find in a retail store, you'd get a bucket with a tissue or something that you can use to wipe your trolley.
Yes.
So they had to remove those because now the use was more. So they had to implement new measures like the use of sanitizers and get more people employed to make sure that the trolleys are sanitized, and we had to put masks in the shops. We also had to ensure that proper training is done to the employees. So in any way, there is a lot of cost that goes with that, but it is cost that has to be done in order to avoid any further transmissions. So that has been the case.
Matlou, most businesses resorted to letting go of employees during these unprecedented times. I mean, obviously due to financial strains. But how has the retail sector handled the issue? Having to keep that balance perhaps between salary responsibilities and also actually making profit at the same time?
I would say we were much more fortunate as a sector in essence because we were trading since we never stopped trading. So in essence, as you may have seen, there's even queue marshals that monitor the queues. So I went to one retailer, the building store, where you've got someone that directs you that you need to stop there. There's more people that are even employed. So I think the sector benefited from not having to close down during level 5. So that is the appreciation. But in any way, we had to open up because essential products had to be rendered to the consumers.
I want to hone in on provinces. I mean, we've seen the Western Cape, the epicenter in the country, is ultimately the hardest hit province by this pandemic. I mean, there have been infections, which also attributed to the retail shops there. I want to know from you, Matlou, how is the sector ensuring that consumers are protected from the virus when they are in your shops?
Okay. I will keep on making key examples in terms of what I've noticed in the retail stores, over and above the education and the flyers that are in the stores themselves. You would find in more retail stores there will be notices as and when you're doing your shopping. I saw that happening in one retail store where you'd get someone talking into the communique to say, please ensure that you've got your mask. wear your mask in a proper manner. Make sure that it covers your nose and your mouth. So those are the little things that they had to implement in their facilities to ensure that time and time again, consumers are alerted in terms of what they need to comply to. So that is what they had to do. And also we've seen a lot of enforcement that had to come from the retailers in terms of ensuring that everyone that enters the facilities is wearing a mask.
Matlou, I just want to conclude by looking at the sector and some of the issues with some of the certain regulations. I mean, we've seen the tobacco sector went to the extent of taking legal action against government on the sale of cigarettes. I mean, does the sector have any issues with the current regulations? I mean, do you think that cigarettes should be sold, and if so, why?
Well, I can't comment that much on the tobacco issue, since the sector-specific representatives have presented the matter to the courts. However, let's wait for the courts and let's see what the constitutional rights and legalities come back, and then we can further comment on that. But we can say that I think with everything, the government just needs to help us. They've been working closely with us, and we do appreciate that as and when we need any support, be it your provincial, be it your municipalities, be it your national department, they have been working closely with us. So where there's a little bit of miscommunication, or where we do not agree on issues, we do deal with them in a proper procedure in terms of your BUSA, your Business Unity of South Africa, and the network levels. So we have been operating in that manner with the government officials.
All right, Matlou Setati, let's leave that conversation there. Thank you very much for joining us. Matlou Setati, Food Safety Executive at the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa, just updating us on the impact of COVID-19 pertaining to the retail sector in particular.